So how many of you know some true things from the Lord's Word? Oh, got one hand, that's good. Good. We all know some true things from the Lord's Word, right? We just said some true things from the Lord's Word, some very important true things, that we're to love the Lord and love our neighbor. But we know a whole lot more true things from the Lord's Word. Even the young ones here do, because we've heard them in church. What teaching from the Lord's Word are we listening to right now by being in church? Who knows what teaching all of us are keeping right now by being in church? Remember the Sabbath, yes. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That's one of the Lord's commandments. And there's so many more. Now let me ask a pretty different question. You have to be able to see this picture. I'll come closer to you. It's a picture of a sheep that seems to have gotten lost. It's fallen down this rocky slope, and it looks like it's even trapped under a rock. And this man in the picture is the shepherd. Looks like he's come to find his lost sheep. And so now, in this picture, the shepherd has found his lost sheep. What's the right thing for him to do? Should he leave it there? Or should he save the lost sheep? What a dumb question, right? We know the answer to that. Of course, the right thing to do is to help the lost sheep. Here's another question. We know a lot of teachings from the Lord's Word, and we know that helping the sheep that's in trouble is the right thing to do. Do those two things we know fight with each other? Is there a problem for us to believe both of those things? Is it a problem to know teachings from the Lord's Word and to know that we should be kind to people or creatures who need kindness? Again, what a silly question. Of course, knowing the teachings of the Lord's Word and knowing that we're supposed to be kind are the same thing. But sometimes people have thought that the Lord's Word tells them that they are allowed to be unkind. People have used the teachings they know from the Lord's Word to make themselves feel important and to tell other people that they're wrong. I'm going to read to you a story from the Lord's Word about some people who did that. This is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 12. At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath, and his disciples were hungry and began to pluck heads of grain and to eat. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath." So the Pharisees are telling the Lord, your disciples are not allowed to pick food on the Sabbath because the commandment was you're not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath. But the Lord said to them, "Have you not read what David did when he was hungry? He and those who were with him. How he entered the house of God and ate the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, but only for the priests. Or have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? Yet I say to you that in this place there is one greater than the temple. But if you had known what this means, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." Now when he had departed from there, he went into their synagogue, and behold, there was a man who had a withered hand. And they asked him, saying, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" That they might accuse him. So this man was probably born with a withered hand. His hand didn't work properly. It was smaller than it was supposed to be, or something like that. And it meant he couldn't use his hand. And the Pharisees knew that the Lord had power to heal, but they also knew that the law said you are not allowed to work on the Sabbath. And so they were watching. Is he going to obey the law? Is he going to heal this man on the Sabbath? The Lord said to them, "What man is there among you who has one sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will not lay hold of it and lift it out? Of how much more value then is a man than a sheep? Therefore it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and it was restored as whole as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and plotted against him, how they might destroy him. So the Lord said to the Pharisees the same thing that all of us already knew. Of course, the right thing to do if you have a lost sheep is to go and help that lost sheep, even if it's the Sabbath. And we all know that, and the Pharisees knew it too. They just wanted to use the teachings of the Word to make themselves feel important, to boss other people around. And we can fall into that trap too. We can really enjoy telling other people, those are the rules and you're breaking the rules. You are not supposed to play on the road. You're going to get hit by a car. And you may be right, but we can be really bossy about it. And we can let that get in the way of really, really teaching people what the Lord says, or teaching people what's best for them. The Lord gave us His Word to teach us all the different things that He says in it, but all of those things that the Lord says in His Word are there to teach us how to be loving. And if we don't hear the Lord telling us to be loving, we're probably not listening to Him carefully enough. And so yes, we need to work hard to learn what the Lord says, to learn all of His commandments, because we're supposed to keep all of His commandments. The Lord did tell us, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, and the Pharisees were right for thinking that the Sabbath day was important. But the Lord gave us all of those teachings so that we can be loving. And we can't just do the first thing, just learn the truth, and then not do the second thing, which is to use it to make this world a better place. Amen.